The motion has passed. The Ridgewater Development Authority has approved relocation of the existing industrial district. For years, the district has supported Ridgewater's early production base, but as the town has grown around it, the site has become less compatible with the county's long-term land use plan. The district still serves a purpose. The location no longer does. Under the approved plan, industrial activity will move to a dedicated site with room for freight movement, utility access, and future expansion. Once that transition is complete, the original industrial district will be decommissioned and held for future rezoning review. This is not the county stepping away from industry. It is the county deciding where industry belongs before growth makes that decision harder. Okay, welcome back to Ridgewater County. We are picking it back where we left off in episode 4. And our service centers are functioning well and going as we intended. So, but I do think that we need to kind of solidify our budget just a bit because we're pretty oversupplied. So I think we can kind of stabilize our numbers. Water, sewage is going to be our ultimate factor on how far down we can drop, but I think we can definitely get this down to about 75. And then trash, I think we can go ahead and take down, well, maybe 75 is a little too much. Let's take that back up to 80. See where it puts us. It puts us in the green, but that's pretty tight. There we go. I think that's a lowered budget, but still puts us in a comfortable zone for now. And trash. We're not sitting too bad. We'll keep it at 80. For now, we'll keep an eye on it and bump that back up to full capacity when we need it. Check our power. Some of our substations and transformers have definitely helped out the cause, but I do think that we can still back it down just a little. Yeah, that puts us a little closer, so that'll save us a few bucks as we keep building and restructuring, but I do think that we can bump this up. Really 12 is about that sweet spot that they don't get super mad at you, but kind of maximize your tax income. So I think we'll leave it there for now, and we might have to adjust or dive in, or lower. Maybe we need more industrial demand. We can lower the cost. We can look at that as we grow. But that'll get us started. So we finally got the approval to move our starter industrial, and it's not that it's the worst place in the world. I mean, you could manage it and redevelop the location, but it is against the highway, which is very noisy, but it does give us a lot of traffic just right at the bottleneck of the town as we keep growing and expanding. I don't think I want that heavy use so isolated in the entry of the town. So I think it's served its purpose, and I think this land could have a lot of future. I think this land could have a lot of future uses that isn't industrial. So let's go take a look around and see what we can do. And from what I'm kind of seeing here, I think this next step over, this plot here, would kind of serve our purpose pretty well, and not really change our footprint over here too too badly or in the wrong direction. I mean, we're also putting it beside our new trash complex. I mean, that, it's kind of keeping those dirty uses together, and keeping a roadway length away from our water source. So, I think we'll build out here. So let's kind of get prepped and started. I think we need to go ahead and start looking at our roadways a little bit. Go ahead and upgrade this. Well, need to at least upgrade to the right road type. But I do think we can go ahead and pave our exit out of the neighborhoods and farm location. Now, I do think I'm going to do it with a dirt road just for ease of cost and trial and error. I think I'm going to go ahead and take and cross the interstate here. So that puts us pretty good for the jump. 12 is about the perfect number, but I think this will give us a good grade across. Hopefully that's high enough. And I should do, I will take a look at the traffic coming through. That was a tractor trailer. I mean, it looks like we have plenty of height. And this isn't a bad grade. So I think that'll work for us. Let's go ahead and upgrade those. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put our stub in. And so it's kind of ready to go. And we'll step in a little. I think I'm going to want to be generally, we don't want to be too close to the bridge entrance, so we'll stub out here for now. That'll kind of give us a good distance away, to where they're not unloading and loading directly off. But let's get over here and start looking at our pad. Let's get topography on. We're pretty flat to start. I think we can smooth out a little bit more, and we'll take this height and just kind of push ourselves and grade ourselves up a little bit. We'll clean up in the detail pass, but I think this will give us a working footprint, big enough working footprint for now. We'll go ahead and take care of some of our plot. I don't want to get rid of everything. Still like to work around, but there's no reason to waste trees that'll be under buildings anyway. So we got a fire, and so let's get started. Let's get our topography back on. So I think I want it to have pretty good distance off of the trash complex, with our kind of main road here. So I think I'm going to go about here, and then get about, say 400 here. We want to be able to kind of build our road in. So I think we'll do about 5 here, and then we'll come out about 160 further, and that'll kind of give us the end of our industrial complex. And I think that's plenty off the hill, and we can kind of clean this back up and soften it. Oh, looks like they finally made it. So hopefully our building doesn't completely burn down. And now, let's get a couple grids working. So we'll come right off here, right off this node, and we want to be we want a good sizable. I kind of foresee this location as one company, and so I want to give it, you know, a pretty strong footprint, and I think that'll kind of give us the basic layout to get started. Now I do think we can go ahead and build out this direction. That doesn't look like that is quite big enough for a good sized plot here. Open that up just a little bit. Now we'll come out this way, and then we'll jump off this node and match it. And that kind of gives us a pretty good footprint for a small industrial park. I mean, we do have to remember, you know, right now the town is only 2,700 population. You know, we have a lot of growth in our future, but I don't think we need massive industry either. You know, our farm is demanding a lot of jobs, and we still need to fill those jobs. Our demand is desperate for residential, but you know, I think destructuring over there and getting a more clean industrial park is important. So we'll just kind of keep relocating here, and then we can decommission over there and hopefully balance out. I'm sure we'll still need our demand, but you know, we'll kind of take that as, once we get established, we can start addressing those needs. So let's get ourselves back to the highway. And I think that'll get us in and out, but that gives us a dedicated industrial road. Now I do think that we can move ourselves, get ourselves a road moving kind of out here for future development. Keep it moving along the highway, interstate. And I think that'll give us a future path that way. No real plans out there, but you know, I think having kind of that back road access to the different areas is still an important part of small town networking. So now let's get some pavement out here. And we'll drop back to 2-lane. At least until we would need more. And then I think we can grab our dirt roads. I like to plan with dirt roads first before kind of committing to more. And you know, we might be able to give ourselves a little bit better spacing than that. We'll put that road back once we kind of have our general idea of what we're putting in here. So I'm going to go ahead with some of these big urban, small, tiny 2 lanes, but one way. I think, we have our general entry and our general kind of carved through the middle. So I think we can go ahead and make this one way as an exit. And so that'll give us some directional pathing. And we can cut across and also make this one way, where now we have the ability to trucks to come and drop off and leave, but also when they do leave, they have a dedicated out, where we just don't have total confusion in here. And I think we can also make that a dedicated, and I think we can make a stub here. We'll make this one too. It's a dead end, really no dedicated pathway out, or really the need for one from what I can kind of tell here. I mean, kind of loop out and leave, but we'll kind of take it piece by piece here. So let's go ahead and start. Well, before we get to buildings, we need to go ahead and make sure that we're somewhat operational, and we definitely need to get a water line out here. So now we have basic utilities out here. So now I think we can start dropping some buildings. This one down right there. Well, I was hoping that these two buildings would match up. Now let's see if it'll fit, and it does. So I think that will kind of give us a good attached look. Yeah, they fit together well. So the buildings fit, the roofs are a little higher, and gives us a little room in the back to get a little detailed. So let's figure out what's up with this road. There we go. Now we're running out. Okay, so here I'm definitely thinking more kind of like the administrative buildings, in a sense. Like if this is the factory, I think this would be more the administrative side to them. And I think that will kind of complete our general look. I'm going to pack that out all together. I get to end right at the building. There we go. Alright. Let's get to parks. I think we definitely need a parking lot in this area. Now, and then let's get our security post out here. I think that'll give us kind of a entry point look. At the same time, we have more administrative looking work, and we have more of our factory floors over here. I think that kind of gives us a singular company outlook on this side of the industrial park. And I also think we're at a point that we need to start reevaluating our farm a little bit now that we're in the industrial reevaluation, and start to maximize our goods. And part of that is unique factories. and that would be the bakery. So I kind of think where we're at with that is we need to get kind of our entire supply chain functioning a little bit more peak. And when we get over, we will jump over there once we kind of have this industrial park built out and taken care of, and kind of re-optimize and relay out our supply chain to better feed the unique industry and the top end of the profit margin. And the Enter the Sandbox miniseries just kind of went through that on the actual Ridgewater plot over there, and it really kind of came out, and we focused on realism and optimization, and I think that really is what we're looking for here, and really kind of solidify the Miller family farm. So let's go ahead and kind of work out the additional buildings that we would need over here, and we might need to bump out our room. We're a little tight back here, and it's kind of good that we stopped the transition until we kind of know the size we need to be. I think we can go and look into our industrial. Take this off. I think we can reuse, yeah, a little bit here. Put this just out here, but I do think I'm going to go ahead and give ourselves a tad bit more room. Maybe a little too much room. Well, the building's not complaining, so there is that. I think let's put our top on. Make sure we're lined up. I think that'll be fine. We'll back ourselves off a little close to the ear, but kind of looks like a little bit of receiving. Now, do you think that we can go ahead and also work ourselves in a extra road right there, hopefully, because I like to fit in parking lot. How far off are we? One. Let's just grab our node, scoot ourselves over rather than. There we go. Stay right on the edge. Alright, well that gives us. He is really unhappy about this lack of power that we've got going on. So I think 2's enough. It's not a huge factory, but I think we can still kind of finish our look here a little more. A couple tanks in. And I do think that we need to go ahead and jump into our farm. We can go ahead and get a silo over here, and that'll help us on the side of. Stop snapping off. Right at the edge of the building. That'll help keep our crop supply close. And let's get a power line in here just to work for just a minute to get these notifications down. Probably look for what I would consider shipping receiving. So we'll take a quick glance down, hopefully to a couple buildings that maybe are vanilla. Anytime that we can work vanilla in, it's benefit to the game engine. Alright, well that is definitely shipping and receiving. And then we can kind of give it a supporting receiving bay. And I think that'll give us our kind of look of, because there's not much. I mean, I guess you can consider maybe this supporting bay shipping receiving, but it kind of looks more like the processing of the silos. So I think this will complete our bakery work. And now I think we can go ahead and get a, let's see, where is it? It's okay. So we can go ahead and get a warehouse in. And yeah, I think a medium's going to look good. So let's get rid of that line real quick. Small's a little too small. Take it over to this one. And we'll set it to animal products. And that will at least take care of these two and keep it local and keep the supply line short. At least just in case we have any kind of glitches in the supply runs. And, you know, it keeps 12 freight trucks nearby, and it keeps 30 nearby to keep this thing running. So now I think we can go ahead and get a road starting to get out of here. And we'll take it here about to the end of the warehouse, and that kind of makes it look like a finished lot. Now, we have unlocked post office, but I don't think we have here now. 7,500 for post sorting. I think we'll go ahead and put it in and give us just kind of a half vanilla, half custom, you know, industrial park. So I think this kind of completes our warehousing look pretty well. So let's go ahead and get our road out of here. And I think that's pretty close. Now, I think we'll go ahead and put more of an administrative looking building in our empty zone here. I think there's a pretty good administrative building. Yeah. Here's a small office building. Now, we don't have offices unlocked, 5,000, but you know, is it really an office building that much? It's a unique building. So we'll put that on in. And if it was a pure vanilla gameplay, you know, there's also just the ability to add as you grow. You know, and you know, which means really, you know, we would just have some vacancies, and that's also realistic too, to let the industrial park kind of work itself up. So now I think since we kind of have this here, I think we can go for kind of a park at the edge. That gives us kind of a place for the whole, you know, we can kind of treat this industrial park a little bit more like a eco park, and be a little on the greener side. You know, so far this town has really supported eco with power, at least. Okay, so I think that kind of takes care of our footprint. Now the detail phase we'll begin to put depth and realism to this area a little bit more than what we have now, but you know, I think that'll So far it looks like traffic's pretty clean and under control, and everything's kind of running pretty cleanly. Now, we do have our abandoned factory over here, but that's mainly because we have a whole lot of industry in right now. So let's go ahead and decommission real quick so we can kind of breathe some life into the new industrial park, and we can start seeing what our traffic's going to start looking like when it's all focused over here. Okay, now I've done it both ways. I've let it naturally decommission, and slowly phase itself out. I think in this particular instance, we have such a residential demand, and we're still on the smaller side. Let's just knock it out, and wipe that zone. We still need our main power line coming in, but we don't need that anymore. Probably don't need these anymore. But we do need to solve this problem. And so now we have a good paved entrance here. So now we're at the point that we have basically our functioning footprint, and it's starting to kind of take shape. We're starting to see some Postal tractor trailers come out, and let's go ahead and reset this to hopefully take a little better hold. Now, we are going to have a problem here, so let's turn this off because we actually don't have flour. And so we're not going to really benefit from that running right now. So we can jump over and get that going. I think, with our farm footprint here, and we're kind of running a county public work utility road, I think we have room right here to kind of put a slaughterhouse and a flour mill operation to support the farm right in this little what I would call interesting land use with the sewage facility underneath. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get some roads. Start with our dirt, and we'll stub off right there. We have a power line in the middle of our road, so let's grab it. It's not the square, I need the node. Alright, well that's a little cleaner. Now we do have a tree in the road. Take care of that. And now we are going to have to real quick grab our industry. What I'd like to do is put a small animal pasture right off the edge of it, so we can kind of mimic a holding yard. And then let's see if we can squeeze in a flour mill, which a little low on money. But let's go ahead and take a loan real quick. I'm not big on loans, but I think for the moment we can handle it and get built. And then we'll repay it. That'll fit us a little better. So now let's put in just a small little stub. So I like to fit parking lot. Yeah, that'll work. Now, I think over here, as you can see, we're getting a lot of truck traffic. Well, we probably should have paved first, because we'll probably run into an issue. We might be too close. No, we're okay. Well, we're not okay on that one. Okay, so that gets us our basic working footprint. I think we still could squeeze in one extra parking lot to kind of help out. And we can move back just a little bit since we were a little too close to the road. How far can we go? Way out there. We don't need to go that far out. We can come out to about here. Parking lot to about there. And I think we could manage one more silo to keep this one well supplied. Maybe move it about right there. It's about as far as we can take it, but it kind of tucks it a little bit further in. But this this will start to supply our bakery, which is where we were lacking. Now, I do think that we need to restructure and re-optimize out here a little bit. I think we can go ahead and rename this Miller Family Farm. As I build this out, you know, I'm going to kind of stick to the layout that we established in the end of the Sandbox series. If you're curious about any of the whys or the in-depth of a lot of the choices made here, that video is a full explanation to the kind of efficiency and the choices behind the vanilla fields and the road optimization for traffic, and you know, everything in depth is gone over there. So I'm not going to kind of bore you on Industries DLC in here, but if you are interested, it is over there. So okay, well, I'm going to take care of that real quick. Okay, we're going to have a pretty dramatic shift in supply that'll need to be filled with new fields. So, but I think this is a much more organic layout, and you know, it kind of takes care of looping and keeps the supply chain from crop to storage to animal product, you know, and keeps the chain moving through the whole process. So, you know, it should be and is very friendly on traffic. So that'll kind of get our supply chain moving back in the right direction. And and get our industrial to kind of settle into its full potential, kind of sets us up for detail. So, we'll go ahead and turn our bakery on so we can start moving process. And I think we'll speed up real quick and get things to kind of settle down and get stocked and kind of get our processes moving back again. Okay, well, I think we're starting to settle down, and I think it can settle down the rest of the way during the detail phase, but I think this kind of puts us at a pretty good place. Okay. Well, I think that kind of takes care of at least the majority of the detailing. I think there's always cases where you can add more as you pass by from time to time. Kind of create that extra layer of depth, but I think that puts us in a pretty good realistic place for now. Might could add a tree or two here, but overall, I think that kind of gets us working. It makes it look like this is an active factories, and we have some equipment out, and we have some supporting. It still kind of gives us a little extra industrial. Not that we need it right now, but we will. So, and it looks like our traffic is flowing pretty strong. Yeah, we're sitting at 85 still, and that's with an industrial park that is on the other side of town from the interstate exit. So, and we're fluxing up to 86. And I'm not really seeing any kind of major choke points here. Everything looks pretty good. I mean, of course, this road's running a little heavy at times, but I think we still have some pretty good throughput. So, I think this is a good place to say that we've reestablished our industrial backbone, and we've definitely optimized the Miller family farm, and kind of made it proud to be in a small town, and now it looks like it fits in a small town. And we have our supporting buildings. Now we are still getting some warnings off of this, the lack of flour. I think that's something we should mature into before we jump the gun and put another flour mill down. The bakery needs 4,800 units per week, but that's achievable with the farm we have. It's just we're underworkered, so we're kind of sitting at 3 stars. So as we keep getting those star bonuses, that can come up. But now if we get more mature, we get more population here, this thing becomes full force employed, and we're still not there, I think that's when we could address it. If not, I think we can live with that little minor lapse from time to time. So we're bringing in good income, so I think we still owe, we do. We can go ahead and pay that off. I think our budget is settled down pretty good. Nothing's showing us yellow warnings or anything. We're still in good shape. We have taxes up at 12%, which is going to keep the population pretty happy, but give us a little extra income coming in. Not that it seems like we need it. It seems like it really is peaking out pretty well when things are shipping out. So even right now, when things aren't moving too much, it's still on the profit side. So I think we're in pretty good shape. And because I noticed even in detailing, we spiked a few times there to like 12,000 in the revenue. So I think it's just more about getting the simulation going, getting running, and continuing to feed, because right now it's our population. We've actually dropped about 400 since this episode started. We really need to start feeding the residential demand, and I think we're going to have to start really looking at that. So, but for now, I think that is where we can leave Ridgewater for this episode, and we can pick back up from here and start kind of really tackling what the town needs from us. So, we'll see you next time, and I'd love to hear from you as far as any comments and anywhere we can improve, or if something was way out of the whack of ordinary or realistic. I definitely want to know. But if not, we'll pick back up next time, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. The relocation worked. Ridgewater's production base is no longer tied to the old in-town industrial district, and the farm is finally mature enough to support the next step in the industrial chain. That leaves the original site with a different question attached to it. Not what it produces anymore, but what should it become next? And remember, start from a baseline, build with intent, let the systems prove the design.